All right, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the finale of the show. That's right, we are finished talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender, and now I've decided that after I'm done talking about the show, next week I'll start doing Gravity Falls. And when I'm done with every Gravity Falls episode, I will go into uh, Legend of Korra. But for right now, we're just gonna do Gravity Falls, just because I don't want to jump from Avatar to Avatar. I feel like that I need a little bit of a break in there, even though it would be fun, but I'm not gonna do it like that. Um, so we're gonna do Gravity Falls next, and it's a shorter show, so it won't take as long as Avatar, and then I can immediately dive into Korra afterwards. But anyways, this episode's really good. At just wrapping everything up, I think it still has some problems. Let's start with the problems, I guess. One, there's some CG in this episode. Like, there's kind of a lot in this episode, and some of the shots and some of the dynamics look really cool that they're able to pull off with it, but a lot of it does not look great by today's standards. It just doesn't. But other than that, and then also, if you don't know, there's a story out there that the creators of Avatar, when they were kind of xed out of the M Night Shyamalan movie, they were actually going to do a season 4, but then they realized they probably just felt like Nickelodeon didn't really want them around, so they essentially scrapped their idea for season 4 and ended it at season 3. But you still see so much of what they were doing for season 3 in this season 4 in this episode with Azula, and there's a dangling mystery with Zuko's mom, and there's a dangling mystery with Azula, and so like while everybody gets such a great nice wrap up, those two things are like left hanging, and it's very awkward. I when I get to the end of the show, I almost forget that they're left hanging there. Like once the credits roll this episode, I'm like beautiful, but then I sit there and think about it a little bit longer, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah. And I know they did address the Zuko's mom thing in a comic, but fuck, man, like I know I'm sure it's a good comic or whatever, but like I wanted to see that shit in animation, and I think many fans did as well. Sure, they did a comic, but still a little douchey not to put that in the show, if you ask me. But whatever. This, though, this storyline of the finale is just great. So basically, is now and there's another. Actually, I have one more critique. I do think that Aang bending is a little taking away Firelord's bending instead of murdering him is a little not great. I know the idea is that Aang's a pacifist and that's why he wouldn't do it. But it does feel like wait a minute here, like no, he should have killed. Because the reality is, even though the Fire Lord doesn't have bending, let's say the Fire Lord broke out of prison somehow. And I mean, he would never do that, right? Let's say it fucking happened. He's a fascist, and he ruled with an iron fist over this fascist nation. Guaranteed, there is people that love the propaganda that the Fire Lords spout. I'm sure of it, and that's not really aspect touched upon here. But like Hitler. If you took away if like Hitler was a firebender, if you took away his firebending, he's still Hitler. I personally would have killed him, but I understand why they didn't. It does feel a little bit of a cop out, but it makes sense for Aang's character, so I'm not gonna criticize it too much. But it does feel like, bitch, you should have killed him. I feel like some of the creators are maybe trying to justify it, but I really am just gonna say straight up, I don't believe any of their justifications. I really just believe Nickelodeon executives were like, you can't kill this guy, even though he's literally fucking Hitler. You know, Donald Trump and Hitler aren't firebenders, and yet their ideology lives on. I'm not comparing Donald Trump to Hitler. I'm just saying they're both kind of have fascist beliefs in some ways that people subscribe to. So I'm not saying they're the same. Anyways, not that political discourse. I just wanted to. I'm just using it as an example of what I'm criticizing with this episode. Um, Yeah, I do think that this episode is really good in terms of what they're doing here. With that, uh, with the wrap up of all these characters, I think the first part of it where Aang goes missing and has to find his own path, and then while the rest of the gang gets ready to go into this battle, and Zuko and Iroh's reunion is the best part of the episode, just flat out. It's beautiful. It's sad seeing Iroh break into tears and just hug Zuko immediately, be like, "I was never angry," and yeah, that was just great. Also seeing a bunch of characters that return that we didn't expect to return, like Paku and Aang's old firebending teacher, and just get their wrap ups and learn about the White Lotus towels and all that stuff was really great. I love all that. And then Zuko actually being the one to become Fire Lord and fix his broken nation, which I love that in theory, but also I don't think people understand. Like, if Zuko was to become Fire Lord in real life, I don't think people would accept it that easily because he's family of this broken family, and you can't tell me that there wasn't Fire Nation propaganda about Zuko out there, and that people were believing it. It would have been a whole political thing. I guess it's one of the aspects Avatar doesn't so much get into, but I feel like maybe not. But still, I thought it was really good with that seeing Zuko actually become Fire Lord and learn to move forward. It's just a really beautiful episode. Because we just see Zuko's arc come full circle in this episode, and it's truly beautiful seeing Aang take down the Fire Lord, all that. Just seeing great wrap ups to everybody, and Aang and Guitar finally kiss, which we all knew was coming after last week's episode. I mean, the way she said she was confused and how she's thought about it, she doesn't really want to worry about it until the war's over, which is kind of smart. But yeah, really good episode that is a great end to most of Avatar: The Last Airbender. I think we still really fucking needed that Azula storyline just to fix a lot of the dangling threads here. Because Azula here in this episode is very tragic in this episode. She's You can tell May and Ty Lee betraying her really got in her head, and now her dad clearly doesn't even respect her, so she has no one. And so she's kind of just lost her fucking mind, and then she's just kind of brushed aside. And it's weird to feel bad for Azula, but at the end of the day, we understand who Azula is better with the context of this episode, and so you do feel bad for her. But still, great episode. Let me know your thoughts. Like, share, and subscribe.